Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for this session on a billion-dollar industry, which is the EdTech industry, and how today the financial world and the investors, they're looking to make this industry bigger with the help of and working closely with the EdTech founders to help them to grow and to scale their businesses, not just in India, but also globally. So I have a stellar panel here with me today. VCs, as well as Imran from a PE fund, as well as Amit Patel from Owl Ventures, who's joined us globally from USA. And I know it's very late there, so thank you very much, Amit, for joining us. This is indeed, we've been doing the Indian Education Congress for, I think, about 10 years. And this is perhaps one of the most stellar panel and the most sort of changing moment that I have seen in this industry at this point of time. And from where we've had like several panels today since morning, and AIC chief was speaking, and the way government, as well as the way the investing world, the entrepreneurs themselves are looking at the industry, I feel that the industry will be very different from what we have seen it. Deborah has also joined us. Hello, Deborah. It's wonderful to have you with us today. So let me kickstart this discussion by first having a question for Karan. Now, Karan, I understand. So, Karan, I understand that mobile education has certainly democratized, online learning, and I feel that EdTech would continue to rise. It's probably, while we feel that we've come a long way, but I think in some ways things have just beginning to start. So, particularly from the pre-pandemic times to now, and probably going forward, hopefully post-pandemic soon. How do you see the EdTech industry evolving, and how do you see things changing in the times to come? And particularly, what have you been doing, which is very interesting, that you would want to share with us today? Can I please request somebody to mute themselves at the back end just to avoid the noise? Thanks, Karan. Over to you.
Oh, thanks so much, Ritu. Thanks for having me. Look, I think there are some obvious changes that we've seen in the last 12 to 15 months. I think two of them being the most stark ones, and we're an early stage tech fund, right? So I think for us, we do come in early. Among many things, I think two things will stand out. One is how the use of mobile education, specifically to your question, has gone down in terms of beyond obviously remote classes for younger children, which is the norm right now. But I think it's sort of become all pervasive in terms of how education is consumed and how education is engaged with between children and amongst communities of children. This is anywhere from 5 and upwards. We saw a little bit of that obviously with what White Hat Junior was being able to do, but I think it's gone to a whole new level. And so that primarily will become a little bit of a trend which will stay. It'll change. It's already changed behaviors, and I think mobile first will become more and more the norm on the top 10% of the population, right? And the demographics within that. The second, which is far more interesting in terms of just sheer volumes, is how, for example, bringing in vernacular speaking communities into the fold, into the digital fold, under the whole umbrella of mobile education, whether it be for job training, whether it be for test preparation, either for government jobs or for competitive exams, or for simple things such as upskilling. I think that is something which we at least did not see too much technology doing in a large way pre-pandemic. There was a lot of offline businesses which were doing that and catering to local users within different states. But now you're seeing the ability for digital platform to really expand across multiple states at the same time. And I think the third is just how local influencers, local community leaders are again propagating the use of technology through which education can be imparted for different things. And I think there again, jobs and upskilling probably play the largest role. So I think those are three things that we've seen at a ground level, which at least for the most part, I think are kind of here to stay for in some shape or form. Some of these could take hybrid forms in terms of also having something in the offline world. Don't see that happening anytime soon. I think there's enough of demand on the pure digital side. And that's actually where some of our up and coming investments are getting done.
Sure, that's very interesting. We're absolutely looking forward to reading and writing about them here at Entrepreneur. Pranab, let me ask you this, given what Karan has said, and and so work from home, understandably, is not something that is going to remain forever. I also see Imran is sitting in his office today. So, particularly now with things looking to change, we've seen some tremendous rise of EdTech, which has happened during this time. But, once schools open up, universities, children go back to universities, how do you think they would consume EdTech at that point of time? For nothing else, but they would be short on time to see or do as much browsing or learning from online engines as they could do during the pandemic times. So what impact are you foreseeing on the edtech industry once we are out of the pandemic? And also, do you see any collaboration models happening, particularly between the core education and the edtech education? I mean, that would actually benefit everybody, pretty much the student community.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Ritu. I think those are good questions. So firstly, I think when students come back to school, we expect that should happen over the next quarter or so. You're absolutely right. There will be less time available to students in general for obviously digital education and so on. What we've seen over the last year, Ritu, has been interesting. There's been an acceleration of the serviceable component of the total addressable market, meaning more students have had the opportunity and time to just experience more of what is available online and sample many different formats, many different companies, many different platforms and products and services, peer-to-peer, group tuition, one-on-one. So there's been this very rapid expansion of the experimentation students have had access to with different formats. What they've also done over the last 12 months, I would say, at least in India, is they've built their preferences on what works for them. They never had the time to really sit back and spend so much money and or time, whether it's free or paid, to build their preferences. And now, obviously, when we see the retention curves for all of these different formats, different companies, we now know what types of students, what segments of students, whether it's at the subject level for math, for science, for language, there are different behaviors, different habits being formed. So over the last 12 months, I think that's been phenomenally positive for the overall edtech market. From what I'm told, in the US, in Western Europe as well, in China and Japan, we have friends everywhere who are now investing in edtech. We're seeing similar stories coming out of those geographies as well. So you're absolutely right. Once school starts and once time becomes a more constrained resource, what you will see is students will now become very focused on spending time and money on their preferences. Alongside this, of course, edtech is a unique market where the consumer is a student, but the customer, the person who pays, is the parent. Parents have also experimented with different formats, built their preferences, and are now more comfortable spending more time and getting their child to spend more of their time as well on very specific formats, and they've built their preferences as well. So we will see much more focus on these preferences. Companies that have earned the trust, built credibility, have stood by their customers, stood by experiences, responded rapidly to changing concerns, changing demands from parents, from students, from teachers, from schools, from even policy, like you mentioned. I think those companies will grow even faster now that time is a constraint. We'll also see dollars being focused now on very specific formats. So whether it's curricular high school, curricular, higher ed, pre-engineering, pre-medicine, whether it's early childhood, which is a large untapped market in our opinion. So again, a lot of habit formation that we're seeing there. You will see that the focus of spending and time is going to help some companies pull out faster than others. So yes, definitely an exciting time that we've gone through last 12 months. We foresee the next 12 months should be even more exciting in terms of where that time, energy, and resource is going to be focused. On policy, you're absolutely right. We've been very impressed with how quickly the government of India has responded to the opportunity that the last 12 months presented. Of course, all of us are familiar with the new education policy that was announced here. It's been very forward-thinking. We must say we're very happy that the administration has taken a very positive view of technology's role to play in the future of Indian education. There are 220 million Indian students, and I must say, we've been doing edtech for over a decade now. It's very, very hard to generalize what 220 million students want from one edtech experience. So we will see more segmentation, more specialization. We will see the rise of vertical specialists in every field, for every age segment, for every subject. You will see different formats support their own unicorns. For example, doubt solving or extracurricular or only language learning or global social learning. We will see many new formats come out. And I think that's fantastic for students in the end. They will have more access, more choice, more competition on pricing. So they can obviously benefit for the inclusion segment of Indian students. And of course, I'm personally very happy to see more focus on Indian regional languages. Beyond English, beyond Hindi, many state languages, as you know, are now supporting more and more technology insertion into their state syllabi. So we expect that will also be an interesting new adjacent market that opens up that also supports innovation. So like I said, we're very happy with what's happened over the last 12 months for EdTech. We foresee certainly much more action over the next 12 months and beyond.
Sure. Thanks, Pranav. That's helpful to know, and certainly looking forward to that wave of change coming forward. Imran, I'm going to shift to you. So how do you foresee, the industry? I mean, as a PE fund, I'm sure your lenses are very different. The industry is growing and growing very rapidly. And then on the other hand, you've been an investor in offline education as well. So particularly, and I mean, we've had a classic deal of Akash classes being taken over by Byju's. Do you see any such deals on the anvil? Do you also see that, maybe the education, offline education might want to make big investments in digital education to actually now have a more clearer journey in digital rather than just probably thinking of it as an interim junction? So how do you as an investor are seeing things, particularly from a M&A perspective in the industry?
Sure. Thanks, Ritu. As you know, Gaja Capital invests at the growth stage of private equity. So we invest typically $25 to $40 million in every deal. We're comfortable buying control. And we invest in education, employment, and employability. So we have a broader definition of this opportunity. And EdTech is a very important, let's say, sliver of growth that has accelerated, especially during the last 3 years. And I think the biggest opportunity in India right now is on the back of all the good work that our venture capital friends on this panel have done. There is a groundswell at the growth stage of that spectrum. We used to invest, and Ritu, you know this, because Gaja has been investing in education for 16 years. There used to be times in conferences like this where, you would find very few people interested in investing in education. And today people are queuing out, to invest in education. And I think it's a good sign. From roughly maybe a few $100 million per year, we are now at in excess of $2 billion a year and 100 plus deals, almost at the same level as the US. I mean, who would have thought that our investment activity will rival that of the US and in some way China? And when all of these, when this nursery of EdTech investments grow up, you will find the growth stage investments to be at obviously at much higher value, and you'll see increasing M&A, you'll see IPOs, you'll see, of course, the supersized VC investments of the type of Byju, Unacademy, and so on. So you'll see all flavors. But in sum, over the next decade, it's going to be a very exciting time for EdTech and innovation in education. You will also see at some point, like you saw in China for the last 5 years, there will be this arms race for CAC and time. These are the two most valuable resources in EdTech. And the best place to see this firsthand is try and sell to schools, because schools are always short on time, teachers are always short on time, and they always have budgetary constraints. And very soon you're going to see household, parents behaving exactly this way. They're going to be short on time. They're going to be questions around screen time and how much time a child needs to spend on EdTech. And they're going to be the obvious budgetary constraints. And therefore, the basis of competition is likely to go to the most serious end of the spectrum, which is outcomes. You're already beginning to see this in K-12 EdTech. We know from our own, from looking at the skilling end of the market, that if you don't deliver on job mobility and salary increases, you don't have a business. So in sum, I'd say it's a very exciting time for education over the next 10 years. We've said, we've been very consistent in our belief that India is the most attractive private education market in the world. It's been a story of large demand and entrepreneurship. And now with venture capital fueling innovation, I believe this will, not just serve consumers and students really well, but it will create very attractive follow-on opportunities, in investing.
Sure. No, I totally agree with you. It's going to be very interesting times, unlike what we have ever seen in the education industry. And I'm going to come back to you and ask you a little more on the early education side also. But before that, I'm going to sort of jump to Ashish. Now, Ashish, Innovent Capital, you give venture debt. So, overall, we have seen the funding pie being so very high, particularly in the education and the education tech sector during these last 2 years. So what has been your experience in the EdTech sector, particularly how has industry been consuming venture debt alongside VC funding and big funding that has been coming along? And in addition, if you can also throw some light on the K-12 segment, what are the different models that you are excited about from an EdTech sector viewpoint today?
Thanks, Ritu. So, we have been very active participant in the EdTech sector, right? We have made over 15 investments in probably 8 or 9 in India, and have been fortunate to play a small role in journeys of companies like Byju's, EDTECH Education, Vedantu, Simply Learn, Topper, some of the newer companies, Doubtnut. So we get a chance to essentially look at the whole spectrum. And overall, it's been a very positive experience. If I were to go by segments, this would be one of the top performing sectors for us. While there is there's a flood of liquidity that came into EdTech after COVID. So eventually there were certain companies which raised so much money that maybe we didn't have any, play to do something. But on the other hand, within our portfolio, as well as new companies, we were able to find some good use cases for companies that were looking to, let's say, do a big campaign and didn't want to kind of spend all the equity money. We did transactions around some acquisitions where essentially kind of an acquisition finance. There's some roll-ups that continue to happen in this space, things of that nature. Now coming back to, K to 12, frankly, today is K to 12 and test prep is a very crowded market. You could even argue that the winners and, I wouldn't say losers, but winners and challengers, have been decided, though every now and then you can have somebody new come in. So what we continue to look at, in addition to, kind of supporting and doing follow-on investments within our portfolio companies, is what's new, right? And I think Imran may have mentioned it, but, you don't need to even look at companies to get to a public markets because there's just a lot of buyout activity. So you could even have a thesis of something, that is unique, which, somebody else could buy. So 4 or 5 things come to my mind. One is clearly executive education. I think within executive education, like EDTECH, Simply Learn, I think there's a lot of opportunity where, mid-career professionals who are willing to spend to basically upgrade their skills. They could be taking a course in blockchain or AI or data sciences or whatever. And there's a clear impact, right? And some of these courses could even be self-funded or could be funded by the organization. So affordability is not an issue. I think the second one within, when you look at the kids, and I'm talking about, let's say, grade 4 to grade 8, 9, while coding became big with White Hat, I think we are seeing a lot. This market is small, but again, at the top, the affordability levels are higher. So small market, but could be big, ARPUs around, other things. Could be robotics, could be, let's say 3D printing. So far it was largely hard skills. We are seeing some early companies that are starting to get into soft skills or what we call life skills. So you could have a platform talking about, public speaking, right? Dance or music or creative writing. So that's another interesting one we are seeing. The third one, I think Pranav mentioned on it, with respect to multilingual vernacular. Frankly, the reality is out of the 250 million odd K to 12 kids, almost 85 to 90% of them come from tier 2 and smaller cities. And they are not comfortable in English. And, today disproportionately, the content is in English. So their companies, and frankly, there are affordability issues. So they may not be looking for a buffet kind of pricing and they want a la carte kind of courses. So for example, Doubtnut, which is a portfolio company of ours, if somebody is looking only for doubt solving with vernacular, that could be a good use case. I think the fourth one I would say would be around closing the gap between, what you learn and get degrees versus what, employability issue. I mean, a lot of the skills are getting learned, but there is a total mismatch between what the industry wants, and there are certain platforms which are looking at that upskilling or reskilling, I would call it. I mean, the last thing that comes to my mind is, again, with respect to platforms that can offer courses that are curated by anyone. And, there are a few platforms, and I mean, these could be even cohort-based learning. There's some interesting companies coming out, largely in the Valley, where essentially anybody could put in a course, and today it's a bit of a root canal. So if somebody actually wants to run a course, you need a lot of support. But platforms could come in with curated courses and a cohort-based learning. So, I mean, those would be, 5 or 6 areas we look at. And the key goal is to figure out, I mean, what's different, because the reality is, I mean, there's just a ton of capital in this space. So unless you have a very sharp differentiation, I mean, chances are you're going to struggle to compete.
Sure. That's a very interesting overview that you've given. Particularly, I quite like it that, more specialized, a more a la carte, as you said, kind of education in EdTech that still has to find roots. So very interesting. Amit, I'm going to come to you now. Owl Ventures, certainly, thank you for joining us. First of all, it's a pleasure to have you here. So Owl Ventures, we understand, is one of the largest venture capital firm in the world when it comes to education technology, and you've played such a pivotal role in the EdTech sector, not just in India, but also across the world. So what kind of Indian EdTech startups do you see going global? I mean, some of the EdTech startups have really become very, very large, like Byju's or Unacademy. In fact, we just had them speaking earlier. So, do you feel that their future is to actually now go out and list themselves on global bourses, or New York Stock Exchange or someplace else? Or do you feel that they should still continue to raise capital to scale faster the way they are going? What is your
opinion? Well, first of all, thank you for having me today. Excited to be a part of this discussion. I think in general, what I would say is, kind of the EdTech market is becoming more global, not just within India, but kind of around the world. At a high level, we're starting to see companies start to go international much sooner and at an earlier stage. I think, a decade ago or so, companies would have waited quite a while before they started thinking about expanding outside of their local geography. Whitehead Jr., which is a company that we've been involved in, within the first, call it 12 to 24 months of operation, started to expand internationally. And this is something that we're starting to see happen with companies that are based in India and starting to serve students from around the world. And we're also seeing kind of significant interest from companies outside of India start to think about the India market and just saying, hey, this is a market that we just can't ignore anymore, right? And it's not a market that we can say, hey, one day we will eventually get to. It's something that they're prioritizing as one of the main areas of focus. And so, when it comes to companies within India and kind of the global market, if you will, I think there's a lot of applicability and interest and frankly, competitive advantage that those companies have when it comes to global expansion. A few of those reasons, number one is, India is home to one of the largest English-speaking populations in the world. Number two is there's a, kind of just significant focus on STEM-focused careers within India, which, as we start thinking about kind of the global economy, is starting to become interwoven with as many sectors as we can possibly think of. And then number three is, kind of just acceptance of students and learners from around the world to say, hey, I don't have to live a certain proximity from my instructor or my teacher. Like, my goal is to find somebody that can really deliver a personalized learning experience to me, a one-on-one learning experience. And we've seen a number of companies in India, whether you're talking about the K-12 segment, you're talking about the higher education segment, or even the adult learning segment, where companies have really figured out a way to not only leverage technology, but leverage like human interaction and create a high quality experience for folks. And so from that perspective, I think we're just going to see rapid kind of acceleration of companies from India starting to go global, and vice versa of companies from, let's say the US market or other countries start to enter into the India market.
Sorry about that. Yeah, please go on.
No, And I guess kind of final thing that I'll say is like, when it comes to companies going public in their local market or listing in other markets, I think there's a lot of real-time regulation, obviously, that's being figured out on that front. And I'd say we've seen this happen, like kind of there's a significant, not just ed tech, but in general tech, where there is significant interest in these companies kind of that are being listed, whether they're being dual listed or only listed in India. I think there's enough interest, enough appetite from public investors to say, hey, once again, these are companies that we are very interested in, see a long-term potential in. And so, I think there's going to be multiple opportunities for these early stage companies to, as Imran mentioned, potentially pursue some type of buyout strategy, to pursue kind of domestic going public, or potentially, assuming regulations kind of get figured out, some type of dual listing or international listing there.
Sure. And from a standpoint of today, with Indian edtech startups becoming so much bigger, and there is also while we have so much going on, but honestly, if I were to say that does India have a Khan Academy, we really do not, in that sense of the word. So what is it that particularly Indian edtech startups should take as learning from global startups, particularly from Silicon Valley startups, and try to bring it in India?
Yeah, well, I'd say it's not only one-way learning. We actually have a pretty global portfolio. Now we've invested in more than 50 companies from around the world. And, I think companies in India are learning from the companies in Silicon Valley, but several of our companies that are based in the US are learning from Indian companies as well. I'd say a few pieces of collaboration that have been particularly interesting is, let's say a company that is based in India that is trying to enter the US market, for example, or frankly, whether it's the US market or any international market, is trying to really think about, kind of the right types of partnerships that you want to have in that region. For example, in the K-12 sector, are there certain curriculum partnerships, or are there certain go-to-market partnerships that could really accelerate kind of the ability to like gain customers within that local market? And that's the same advice, frankly, that we give our US companies thinking about coming into the India market, right? Like, trying to make sure that you really understand the differences between what does the go-to-market look like in the US versus what does it look like in the India market. Simple example is, kind of in India right now, like it's very acceptable for users to provide a phone number, kind of in an onboarding process, and therefore companies can really have that kind of dialogue or interaction that happens whenever you're trying to move from a free version of a product to a paid version of a product. That's a very foreign concept for customers in the US market. If you all of a sudden started to ask for phone numbers in an onboarding process, you're going to see a pretty significant drop off in the funnel there. And so really kind of understanding the nuances of your geography, I think really matters. And so that's kind of some of the global learnings that we've been able to really benefit from, given the fact that we've invested in companies from around the world in this sector.
Surely. That's very interesting. But let me come back to you. Deborah, are you there? I am unable to see you over here on the board.
She had to leave.
Deborah had to leave. We got a message earlier. Yeah.
Okay. I also wanted to touch upon very quickly on, how do you see certain sectors, particularly within the entire spectrum of education, things changing? One area I'm very keen to know about is early education. Now, while there's been a great shift over, a great transformation to online learning, but it's been a challenge at the early education level. So how is it that globally markets are trying to address this market? The kids are way too small to, your study group is not just working. They're not able to absorb what you're trying to tell them through a screen. So how is that changing? And what is the likely edtech that is going to make that happen? Would love if Amit and Imran could probably take that up.
Sure. Amit, would you like to go first?
Go ahead, Imran. I'll let you go and then.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, as you know, Ritu, we had a very successful investment in an early age through K-12 platform called EuroKids. It's now renamed as Lighthouse Learning. And during COVID, it was very challenging actually to engage with children at a very early age. I'm talking about preschoolers. And there are two or three issues there. One is this whole One is this pushback by parents on screen time. I think parents are still discovering what is good screen time versus bad screen time for children, especially at a very early age. And there's a lot of research, that research is evolving. And that gets in the way of EdTech engagement. There are other ways of engaging those children. There is, especially for children, let's say at an age of 5 or 6 and above, you could engage them through active screen time. One of our companies, Sports Village, has created online classes for sports and fitness. During COVID, you had children just sitting in front of Zoom calls all day, not being able to play. And we decided to take our live fitness classes to homes. And that was very successful. And we built the case with children and parents about active screen time as opposed to just passive screen time. But in some, I must say that, it's not for the want of innovation. I think there are a lot of interesting, ideas that have come out in early age, including what Baiju is trying to do and others. And maybe Amit, you can talk about some of the innovation you're seeing, but I'm seeing a lot of cultural pushback, both by teachers and parents for screen time at very early ages.
Yeah, that's there too. In fact, that was something that came up even in our earlier discussion when the chairman of AICTE was talking about, the psychological weight of being on screen for about 10 to 12 hours in a day. How do we address that?
Yeah, no, listen, not only from like kind of an industry perspective, but from a personal perspective, I have 2 very young kids. My daughter's 2.5 years old and my son is 5 months old. So quite young kids. And, I'd say my daughter actually, for one, just actually started going to school in person maybe a few weeks ago. And there's been a remarkable shift kind of just in her learning capabilities of having kind of that in-person interaction. And I think that really matters, kind of, especially when you're talking about kids that are, call it 2 years to kind of early elementary. And even after that, like kind of that in-person interaction really matters. And kind of being able to facilitate that is particularly helpful. And so, I think Imran touched on this, like, especially when it comes to kind of the early learning sector. A lot of what really is working and I think really resonates with the market is having solutions that, not just put a child in front of a screen or something like that to kind of hear a lecture told to him or her, but it's something that creates that like kind of interactive learning to actually happen, right? And, there's companies in our portfolio like Tinkergarten, for example, which offers kind of high quality outdoor education classes where it's not just the child that's present, but it's also the parent that's coming into the learning as well. Because a lot of times, kind of it's parents that are asking, hey, I have a very young child. I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Am I doing the right thing? Is my child supposed to be learning this? And kind of having that technology scaffolding and solution there to create and give the parent confidence in the types of interactions they're having with the child, and kind of making sure that they're having kind of continued engaging dialogue with the child. And the other thing is, it's not about the right answer, right? It's about things like working like creativity, imagination, resilience, and things that have been shown in academic research to have a great impact on students when they do enter like kind of a more formal learning environment. And then a second example that I give from our portfolio is a company called Amira Learning, which focuses on measuring kind of oral reading fluency for students. So, kind of one of the things that have been shown in like academic research is, students, if they are not reading on grade level by the time they're, kind of in 3rd grade, they're potentially statistically unlikely to be reading on grade level by the time they graduate from high school, right? And a lot of students, depending on their personal circumstances, don't have access to an adult to actually help them kind of practice the reading, continuously. And so Amira Learning is kind of a great example of a platform that gives a student the ability to kind of practice on those skills, which is so critical during those early years. And so that's something that teachers and educators have really kind of found to be extremely helpful, especially given the kind of the other option is just to do this all analog, and it's very time intensive, and therefore students don't get as many practice sessions in kind of as they need to in order to really become masterful readers.
Sure.
Hey, Ritu, can I just say that
Sure,
Amit, you may be surprised to learn, but Amira actually has a decent user base in India through various micro communities which are actually propagating reading fluency and just checking on how the standards are progressing. But I think just to add to that, we spent a lot of time towards the end of last year just understanding early learning, both across school curriculum, extra school curriculum, or outside of school curriculum, and just basic learning skills. And one of the investments we ended up doing was actually with Pranav and his team in a company called Uable. And obviously their model has evolved a little bit in the last 6-8 months, but essentially they're looking at being able to give real life skills and now more career oriented skills to preteens and teenagers globally. So it's not an India product. They've got people from Tesla coming in and holding workshops, people from NASA coming in and talk about space engineering. So it's actually phenomenal what early education, early learning, right from maybe 3 years of age right up to 13, 14 years can actually do. But I think the segmentation around whether it's school-based or school-based curriculum outside of school, so extracurricular versus co-curricular, which and three very, very distinct ways of learning and imparting that knowledge. What we've seen work well across the board is where you've got communities which of parents if they're slightly younger students, or students if they're slightly older, and how that engagement within that let's say particular platform drives usage and goes deeper into creating very healthy cohorts. And that ultimately increases the opportunity to create monetization, because I think that's one great thing about education, which anybody from an angel investor to a PE investor likes, that you can actually monetize it fairly easily, because you're actually you're solving value, you're solving a need which people are happy to pay value for. So I think it's been a sea change, especially from an India perspective over the last 18 months or so.
Sure. Pranav, you want to add something to this piece?
Yeah, sure thing. So I actually agree with Karan. I think we're talking about the same company. We worked with Karan on this one, and I couldn't agree more. I think like Amit said as well, the demand on early childhood in particular is to win credibility with the parents, while of course having a rooting in deep pedagogical science that keeps the interest of the child protected and focus on developing the right kind of mindset. So of course, I think education and health are coincidentally two of the largest spends in India from the family perspective, but also two of the areas where as startups we need to be very careful. We're dealing with lives, we're dealing with children. So the risk profile of these products, these apps that are being built are also much more focused upon. So I definitely agree. I think there's been a maturation overall. I'm happy to say we're seeing more and more startups ready to deal with the challenge of early childhood learning. It's distinct from regular training and upskilling and so on. So there's a care and concern that needs to be carefully constructed here that's different from the other segments. So I'm happy to see that maturation is also coming towards early childhood learning.
Sure. On another area, do you feel that, because now we've seen a great spurt, so while we've also seen in India that there has been rise in the number of edtech companies, along with there are some companies on the top who've scaled up very well. So going forward, do you think the opportunity for each edtech company is really to do a D2C model, or do you think they should actually be collaborating with core education and help in making digital and maybe a screen and a board kind of a collaboration happening there? So, I mean, otherwise, we'll have too many edtech companies over there in the market, and not everybody being able to find their customer once we are back out of, or once we're out of the pandemic. So what is your advice to the edtech community at large? Who would like to take it up?
I'm happy to start, if that's okay. I think you're absolutely right. There is an arms race, right? Everyone's after the same 100 million K-12 edtech users as one example. The same MAU, and that's going to result in a hyperinflation of CAC. You're already seeing that as money pours into the sector. And that's good, I think, to induce trial, which we've done over the last 2-3 years, but now the tough problems need to be solved. And amongst the tough problems are, of course, how do you deliver outcomes to your students, and so on, but also how do you solve problems in the larger ecosystem? So the offline tutors who need to make a living and are doing a pretty good job at a low cost of delivering quality learning outcomes in their neighborhoods. What can technology do to give them the scaffolding, the convenience, the content, and quality and engagement that they can use to scale their business? What can you do for schools? I mean, we are seeing a massive consolidation opportunity in K-12 offline schools, and schools will come back. They're all not going to be online Zoom calls, for long, hopefully. And companies like Lighthouse Learning are emerging as a consolidator in that space. But their strategy is not just to buy out schools. Their strategy is to digitize and use digitalization to drive efficiencies and quality and effectiveness of learning outcomes. So what can EdTech do to serve these platforms that are emerging? What can you do to enable schools to do a better job of student acquisition and driving learning effectiveness? So I think, working with the ecosystem, to my mind, is almost as big an opportunity as the direct-to-consumer opportunity, which seems to have attracted a lot of capital recently.
Sure.
Add Ritu, on a couple other points. I think obviously there's been disproportionate amount of capital and focus on the larger market, right? The hard skills, maths and test prep. I think there's a lot of opportunity on two areas. One, clearly, as you get down the pyramid where affordability is an issue. You need to find models where, which can't sustain that kind of CAC and, whether those are group models or assisted learning, cohorts, I don't know. But eventually, you need to figure out models where affordability problem can be solved, because that's a large segment in my mind. The other thing I think I touched upon is, I think there is a lot of scope, may not be as huge a market, on other skills beyond the hard skills. I think especially in India, I think there's just way too much focus on the same, the maths and the test prep and things of that nature. But I think, folks who are trying to build, life skills and, things of that nature, I think that's another opportunity. And I think that can make a huge impact versus just, improving marks and getting into, some great universities.
Sure. On the other hand, which are the companies, particularly, and in which sector do you think are more likely to sort of scale further? We've already seen Byju's and Vedantu and, who are actually probably just helping the core industry. But where do you see, 3 or 4 sectors? I know while we have touched upon them as we've spoken, but, particularly once the schools are open, once the universities are open, which are the 3 or 4 larger categories do you see emerging in EdTech? Amit, what has your schools are open in US, so maybe you
can. No. So I'm happy to comment on that. So, I think one category one place that a lot of folks kind of tend to immediately gravitate to when they think about education technology is like kind of curriculum solutions or assessment solutions. And, what I would describe almost as like front of classroom types of solutions, right? However, there's, I think, a whole host of solutions that we've seen that might not become obvious, right? Examples of that are kind of administrative software solutions, a lot of things that we've actually been used to, let's say, in the corporate world that does not exist within the education K-12 sector, for example, right? Example of this is, for example, trying to keep students safe online, right? And trying to make sure that students aren't experiencing cyberbullying or things like that, right? Making sure that they're kind of starting to understand how to become like online digital citizens, if you will, right? And so these are the types of solutions that maybe don't become as obvious when, kind of you first think about EdTech. The other thing is like, we actually have a category where we call EdTech Plus, where it's like EdTech plus another category, right? And so, one example of a company in India that we've made an investment in is a company called Leap Finance, which is actually helping students from India who want to go study abroad and kind of access kind of loans and just navigate the entire study abroad process, right? And, kind of on one hand, you could think about it almost as a fintech company, and on the other hand, you can think about it as an edtech company. And so there's a whole host of companies that we've seen that are bringing edtech meets fintech. FamPay is another example of a company that, kind of recently raised money in India that's doing that. I'd say the US equivalent of kind of that would be a company like Greenlight, which we've made an investment in, which is helping, kind of students in the K-12 sector kind of become financially literate, right? And not necessarily an obvious like kind of edtech solution in the sense of like a curriculum or assessment platform. And so, I think there's a real blue ocean that exists when it comes to that type of solution to be created. And so, excited to see about kind of what the next decade or two will hold for India when it comes to those types of solutions.
Sure. And finally, let me ask you this. Do you feel that there would be a good number of exits, happening in the EdTech sector, even going forward, as we've seen a great volume of funding that has happened during this point of time, during 2021? Do you, particularly from an Indian standpoint, do you see many new exits happening even in 21, 22? Pranav, Karan, if you would like to take that up.
Yeah, I can go first. Certainly, I think the consolidation wave is not complete yet. While we've seen, of course, the market leaders, Baiju, for example, is a category creator, I would say for sure. While they have consolidated fairly aggressively, I do know for a fact there will be more acquisitions. I think we're still to see large cap India corporate play a role in education and education technology. Of course, Reliance has imbibed. We expect the other groups will also start their foray into the space. So you've seen 1MG, Big Basket, a lot of the FMCG and grocery essential platforms be part of the first wave. We expect education and health will be part of the next wave. So certainly, I don't think EdTech consolidation in India is over anytime soon. There's still a lot more to come. I know Imran and Gaja are doing a lot more work on forward planning there as well. So it's a very exciting time, and I'm very happy to see that it's not just EdTech. It's as you know, a lot of IPOs across sectors in India for the startup ecosystem. So certainly, long view for us is that this is a very successful first cycle that's come to an end, and we expect much more excitement in the second cycle that starts now.
Sure. Karan?
Yeah. No, I'd obviously agree with that. I think, a couple of things which we've seen. One is the ability of some of the larger platforms, Baiju's, Unacademy being obvious ones, but even Vedantu, and we're seeing a few more coming up, which will, who will build large, disparate businesses by acquiring, because it's part of a much larger platform strategy, right? So I think that ability to be able to exit to some of the larger platforms who got currency is there. That's one. I think secondly, as Pranav said, there is a huge play for corporates to come in, but that will be in bits and pieces in areas which are of interest to them. Interestingly, the strategic interest could also come from some completely unknown players. So one of our portfolio companies, FirstCry, acquired a fairly large preschool chain almost 2 years back, because FirstCry is basically an e-commerce platform for babies and kids, but this was a way to get curriculum into build curriculum for schools, but then be able to serve the parents of these children in a much larger holistic manner. So there are some very surprising people and platforms that you would not necessarily think who will have a tangential interest in education and EdTech. It could be for the end user base, it could be for just a platform, it could be for distribution. So all three are ways to look at potential exits for startups. I think EdTech is certainly showing how that can be done, and certainly expect a lot more sponsor deals to also get done, in the coming few years.
Sure. Ashish, you want to add something to that?
So let me just say this: if this was a 20-20 over game, we are in the third over, and the fifth ball is still to be bowled.
Sure. Okay, great. No, I think this was a fantastic conversation. It actually gave us a great sense of how the industry is going to pan out from here. Any final words that you would like to give? Maybe a quick one, starting with you, Imran.
No, I'm very excited about the potential of education and EdTech. I won't be surprised. We're currently at about $2.2 billion a year, a little over $2 billion per year of investments. I won't be surprised if we have a $10 billion year in the next decade. So very exciting times, but a lot of hard work because the basis of competition is moving to real problems as opposed to just top of the funnel.
Sure. Pranav?
I agree. I think like we discussed already, there's going to be a lot more action. There's going to be a lot more specialization. We're looking forward to founders who are now in the second or third company coming with even more hyper aggressive visions of the future that they're building out. I think there's been a cultural shift in India as well. The consumer is now much more educated, much more demanding, much more selective, and of course willing to spend. And I think that evolution leaves us with a very exciting new decade and a new type of consumer stream to latch onto. So very excited about what's to come.
Sure. Karan?
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd add is, people, founders or people who will be founders have seen scale at other companies. They've seen how that's happened. And that's the same thing we saw with commerce. So this is an as large market. So I think that's one. The second is there will be two very distinct kinds of edtech companies. One which are going deeper into India, the second are going much broader globally. There will be some overlap, obviously, but I think understanding the needs of global markets and the nuances, like as Amit was saying, but also understanding the intricacies of the Indian market, especially as you go beyond the first 100, 150 million users, will be really key in terms of how an investor can think about evaluating companies and then how those companies think about expanding. So I think both will be equally interesting. And it's a great time to be an edtech entrepreneur or an investor focused on edtech.
Sure. Ashish?
Yeah, and I think there is, I'm kind of excited about, what could some of the new technologies would bring to edtech, and coming back to the affordability and kind of the, the missing 80% population, which may not be able to pay the kind of, so I think with especially with AI, getting better, I feel like a hybrid assisted kind of a model with deep usage of AI. I think that has a lot of potential. So I'm sure you're going to see something interesting come out, which may not require, too many teachers and bodies being thrown for every course.
Sure. And Amit, finally to you.
Yeah, listen, I think we deeply believe that India is going to be kind of the epicenter or one of the world's epicenters when it comes to education, technology, innovation. I think from the entrepreneurial talent that kind of exists in India to the pace of innovation that's happening in India, and not only kind of being an epicenter, but really setting the pace at which companies are growing, how fast they can grow. And to add to maybe Imran's kind of prediction about what's going to happen in the next decade, it's our prediction that India is going to be home to several of the world's most valuable education technology companies, whether privately or publicly listed. That is certainly going to be the case.
Sure. Thanks once again. This has been a wonderful discussion, and hopefully the next time we'll have this discussion not on the confines of a screen, but in person, with hopefully the pandemic behind us. Thank you for joining us. We also have a few awards that, where we recognize some of the good innovators in India who are doing some work in the education space. I would request you to please stay back as we do it over the next 5 minutes. Over to you, Muskan.
Thank you so much. We shall now begin with the awards. The award for Institute with Best Placement goes to Sunstone Eduversity. They believe your placement is our priority. Many, many congratulations to Sunstone Eduversity. All right, we move on to the next award. Excellence and Innovation in Online Teaching. And the award goes to Glendale School, cultivating character and competence since 2003. Hearty congratulations to Glendale School. The next award, Best Career Planning Platform, and this goes to Upgrad, Naam Hi Nahi, Kaam Ki Degree. Hearty congratulations to Team Upgrad. The next award, EdTech Deployment of the Year, Higher Education, goes to Simply Learn, world's #1 online bootcamp. Do we have Ms. Vidya here with us from Simply Learn to receive the award? All right, many, many congratulations. The next award this afternoon, the award for Coaching Institute of the Year goes to Cat King, Connect, Aspire, Transform. And we have with us Mr. Sumit Gandhi to receive the award.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Many congratulations.
Thank you so much for the award. I was listening to all these great speakers from the venture capitalist side. I have my 2 cents. As we speak about technology and getting more trainers, I think people are missing on the students side of the whole thing. And this award is not for us. It's for the students who have actually transformed themselves to the online segment right now and in jiffy of time. We expected like sit in the front of classroom, the Zoom lags and everything. But I feel very proud that this year we were able to send 1,000 students to IIMs and 150 students to IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore and Calcutta, and everything online, and the reach has gone to the pan-India level. And out of these 1,000 students going to IIMs from my pedigree, I would say around 500 are from the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And I think the next big wave of the Indian is going to come from the tier 2 and the tier 3 cities of the country. So I'm really, really proud, and this is on their behalf. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Indian Education Awards.
Congratulations.
Congratulations once again. We shall now move on to the next award. Best Emerging School of the Year, National. It goes to Vidya Shilp School. Vidya Shilp School embraces an integral system of education to create a community where purposeful learning focuses on the whole being, body, mind, and spirit. And we have with us to receive the award, Ms. Juliana Prince, Principal of Vidya Shilp School.
Thank you so much. Dear all, we are extremely honored to be receiving such an important award. On behalf of the VSS family, I would like to thank and appreciate the members of the jury for choosing our organization as the Emerging School of the Year. It was quite a challenge to start a new school in this situation. What was very impressive was that teachers took on the challenge of using technology, developing their own content, and building activities by bringing experiential learning into their teaching program. All of us out here are capable to take the learning for our 21st century kids to a greater height. This award solidifies our beliefs and inspires us to work even harder. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Many congratulations to you once again. The award for the best test prep solution of the year goes to EDUCAME. Start your exam preparation now. And we have with us Mr. Chandrahar Panigrahi to receive the award.
Hey, thanks everyone, and it was great hearing all of you. I think we are a startup which is focused on preparing students for government test prep. We've started with the UPSC. Our vision is that we basically focused on personalized learning, and we believe that every student matters and every student has his own cycle. So we focus on students as well as the educators. Therefore, we have got a unique model called the TCE model, and our evaluation techniques, which are based on tech, AI, which is both on subjective and objective platforms, are exemplary. And the result is that within our 14 months of starting off, we have got about 7,500 to 8,000 paid learners, and we've also got about 250 out of 2,000 people who have qualified for the interviews in UPSC from our institute. So I think from our platform. Thank you very much. This is a big thanks to our team who have been working behind, and look forward to many more.
Wishing you all the very best and congratulations once again. The next award this afternoon, Best EdTech Company of the Year, and it goes to Unacademy. Start learning with Unacademy. Hearty congratulations to the entire team. The next award this afternoon, Best College Prep Platform. This goes to Collegify. Be smart, choose Collegify. Congratulations to the entire team. The next award, Best Robotics for Learning Education Solution, goes to Viz Club Learning Private Limited. Let your kid play, learn, and build machine learning models to recognize text, numbers, images, and much more. Many congratulations to the entire team of Viz Club Learning Private Limited. The next award, EdTech Deployment of the Year, K-12, goes to Byju's. Personalized learning app to learn anytime, anywhere. Hearty congratulations to the entire team. The next award this afternoon, K-12 School Chain of the Year, National, goes to Seth Anand Ram Jaipuria Group of Education Institutions, a group with diversity and legacy. We have with us Shri Anirban Bhattacharjee, Vice President, to receive the award. Good afternoon, sir. Mr. Chatterjee, are you there with us? Congratulations to the entire team. The next award this afternoon, Best Online Learning Management Platform. This goes to Practically School Solution. Did you experience Practically yet? Hearty congratulations to the entire team of Practically School Solution. And the Edupreneur of the Year, the award goes to Dr. Asim Chauhan. Many, many congratulations, Dr. Chauhan.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm grateful to Ritu Maria and the Indian Education Awards. Great to get this in the backdrop of the discussion we've had with the most amazing VCs. We share the optimism in EdTech in the education sector. Thank you so much.
Many congratulations to you.
Congratulations to you, Dr. Chauhan. It's always wonderful to meet you and learn from you.
Ritu, thank you so much and great work you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, sir.
The next award, Best EdTech Startup of the Year, goes to EDTECH. Do we have someone from the team here? Hearty congratulations to the entire team. We move on to the next award, Best Faculty Development for Online Teaching. And this goes to Pathways, Learn, Work, Play, Think, Live. Many, many congratulations to the entire team of Pathways. The next award, the final award this afternoon, Best Standalone School of the Year, Regional, goes to Bal Bhavan Public School. Your wings already exist. All you have to do is fly. Can we have Mr. Vipin Gupta here, please, with us, who's here this afternoon?
Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. It is a moment of honor for me to be here on this platform amidst this August panelist gathering. I would take this opportunity to thank Franchise India for recognizing Bal Bhavan School as a standalone school at the regional level. I would also like to express my gratitude towards the director of the school, Shri B.B. Gupta ji, for his valuable guidance that help us move ahead. I express my heartfelt thanks to my entire team for their ardent efforts to ensure that we deliver the best to our students, even during these tough times. Last but not the least, I would like to thank the parents community of the school for trusting us and allowing us to harness the best out of our children. The journey becomes easy when we work as a team, and I promise at this platform that we shall always strive to make it best for our future leaders. Thank you once again to all of you.
Many congratulations once again. For the institute with best placement, the award goes to Sunstone University. And we have with us Mr. Ankur Gupta over here.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Franchisee India, for giving us this award. You know, we are really honored. You know, we are a young company, just started 2 years ago, and the last 24 months have been a roller coaster ride for everyone. And I think we have been able to deliver 100% placement in last 2 years at the time when everyone was working from home. And at the same time, our student strength grew from 250 when we started 2 years ago to 700 last year. And this year we are aiming to have 3,000 students with us. And I think this has happened just because of two core reasons, which is a mental model which we follow largely on the student side and the corporate. We believe that we have to be accountable. The time has come to be accountable for the students and for the corporates. And our unique pay after placement model, you know, has given us an opportunity to stay true to that. Thanks a lot once again, Franchisee India, for this award. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Many, many congratulations once again to all the winners. May I request everybody to please give us a few more minutes for the startup session and stay with us during the session. We shall now begin with the startup pitches. And first and foremost, we have with us EduVora.
Yeah, hi, EduVora.
EduVora.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay, so can I get a screen share access so I can actually show the beta platform? Okay. I'm sorry. I still don't have Service Industries. That's the name on the Zoom meeting. Yep.
You're the co-host now. You're the co-host now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, hi everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to check if Mr. Amit was still here because I was really excited about the talk that he gave, because that sort of aligned with the vision that we're trying to build with the new company as well. Okay. No worries. So my name is Dhruv Singh, and I'm the CEO and founder of a startup company called EduVora. So we're building a made in India next generation learning experience platform. And with me, I also have the Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer, because we have a division of AI in the company as well. So this platform, we would like to present a new vision for the education industry. So EduVora basically will plan to target institution, educators, learners, in state-of-the-art education models and, personalized environments with a user-friendly interface. And it will be provided in all of the local languages with features like personalized classrooms. You can keep track of your timetables, attendance, stay connected with your teachers and your educators. We have a brand new model called EduVora Meet, which is basically taken from like a video conferencing, but it's a new model with a new technology that we're using AI for the audio. Extremely clear, and you can edit your meeting topics. You have a whiteboard audio video environment coming up, which can be used by teachers and students as well. Then we have examinations, which is basically an online examination system with ML-enabled proctoring system. So you can actually take online examinations, multiple questions. We have some pretty nice automatic features as well. Then we have the clubs. So this will be basically, you can host events and grow help link with the other institutions and clubs as well. So this is also a pretty cool feature, along with the library. So basically, we actually noticed that the digital transformation is happening in the education, industry. So we actually created this platform for a goal to enable smart learning. So that is like the overall goal of the platform. So the beta platform is launching actually next week, and we already have a couple of interesting clients lined up, including the talk with the Mumbai University as well for using our platform. So yeah, that is basically in a nutshell what EduVora is doing. So with the AI division, we also plan to solve some interesting problems that we are currently facing, like a better grading system or sophisticated data analysis. Deep learning is something also we need to look into, and we have a couple of models coming up on the AI as well, which we will disclose as the platform moves from beta to enterprise. So yeah, that is basically the vision of our startup company, and you'll see the launch happening within 7 days, and hopefully you can use the platform as well. Currently, it will be a B2B2C platform for institutions, schools, and coaching centers, but we will be launching a free version of the application for all of the educators and all of the learners as well. So that is the EduVora for you, which will be launching next week. So if anyone has any questions,
so what is it? To raise funding, or are you looking to sort of?
No, currently the startup is self-funded. We have a couple of interesting engineers and business dev people working in the company, the co-founders as well. So yeah, this is sort of like a self-funded project, but we are looking for funding to grow the platform on a much larger scale, because this is potentially one of the only platforms you will see that is made in India and is incorporating EdTech in the way it is. So we are looking to raise funds, but rest assured, we are launching the beta version next week within 7.
Sure. And are you looking at what kind of talent are you looking to attract for the startup?
Basically, like I said, the startup will be targeting institutions and educators and learners, mainly like teachers, or you can say coaching centers or schools. Basically, people who understand that the education technology is taking a shift, and we are moving towards a digital transformation. And like it or not, that has been, now it's much faster than it actually would be in the future. So we understand that, and this platform will actually enable a lot of interesting things for institutions and schools. Using AI, we'll also be building some student performance model and a lot of interesting things. So mainly this will target organizations in the beginning, but we'll be coming up with a brand new Edvora for teachers, which will be purely for teachers and their students. End to end, any teacher in the world can just get on the platform, create their classrooms, and start managing everything that they do with their students and in and all. Yeah.
Sure. That's very interesting. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
We shall now like to call upon ClearSem Education to give us their pitch. Is somebody there from the team? Someone from the team ClearSem Education? Shall we move on to the next team to give us their pitch? Can we do that?
Yes, please.
All right. We would now like to invite School Shiring. Someone from the team School Shiring? The next startup which we have can be from Shobha Group of Tuitions. Is somebody there from the team? From the team Shobha Group of Tuitions. Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, very good afternoon. Good afternoon, ma'am, Ritu ma'am. And I'm Shobha Ranganathan, founder of Shobha's Group Tuitions in Mumbai, which is known as an impacting coaching institute with a vision to creating learning institutions, creating learning institutions, advancing culturally to create strong individuals, both in heart and head. When I say head, it is academics, and when I say heart, it is non-academics. So being a teacher for more than 2 decades, having understood or having observed children very closely, student community very closely, teacher community very closely, and as well the parent community. One thing that could help me arrive at was introspection in the education system in India is something which is missing. We always laud the accomplishment, but not the effort for the accomplishment. And that kind of brought into me a kind of a fire that would not subside since couple of years. And wanting to see that the children grow stronger with understanding that it is not only qualification that adds more to yourself. It is about understanding the inner you with the outer world, aligning both, taking education as one of the tools, but creating that kind of self-awareness and aligning the inner weather inside is even more important. Therefore, doing little, or rather R&D for more than 3 years in all the quotient development, we have come with a product called Q5, which talks about enhancement of quotients in the children. Now, when we say quotients, it's about creative quotient, which is, of course, the esteemed jury people, they did mention about the prowess of imagination that one can have, being little more creative. To give an example, I would just say that though it is a startup, but then in India, I've seen it is age that conquers over things rather than the stage. So when I say startup, maybe people demand or rather expect youngsters to have a startup. But I guess startup is all about, making more sense with experience on hand, though maybe financially we run low, but yes, experience does have, and kind of giving an ace to whatever whatever you have. So QFI is that product which I would want to go alongside the school academics, because India has got so many schools, say around more than 15 lakh schools we have in India, and maybe around 8,40,000 recognized schools in India. But then when we talk about the boards that India has, it is per tier, it is a different board that is recognized. And then the child has no clue which board is he from, whether those marks are enough for him to stand in the real world to accept challenges. So I thought that Q5 should be a good product which will align the academics through the subjects. For that matter, math and science has been always given more importance, but do those children also have the matrix to know how to solve the real life challenges that they have? If math cannot do that for them, I think education still is faltering somewhere, or maybe we are not able to give the student community what they have to be in the future. Correct? So even if we take the number of the age of the children, like suppose, say for example, if I turn 60, I am supposed to retire. Whereas maybe I'm physically well, I'm mentally great, and I still want to contribute to the nation. But the kind of tarring that happens is you are retired, you have to be at home. So similarly, for student population also, till they are 18, they cannot work. But of course, like NEP has come up with internship and skill development, I think Q5, which is all about creative quotient, intelligence quotient, emotional quotient, spiritual wisdom quotient, and adversity quotient. Child has to know how to stand a refusal. Child has to know how to stand a rejection. So I would want to propose to the forum here, to the platform, members of the platform here, that we would want to go for a Q5 digital magazine product, which should get infused into schools alongside the academics right in the formative years, because it is very difficult. A self-awareness program is taught in MBA, correct? Rather, self-awareness should be started, right in the formative years. If formative years, early child education is all about making the child know himself or herself better, wouldn't that be a greater contribution to the nation to bring the commonality in education? So though we have ICSE board and maybe IB or CBSE or state board, Maharashtra state board or Karnataka state board, there should not be a difference. Though we all, since we all belong to the same country, culture is the same, cultural intelligence also has to be developed. Rather than understanding the difference in the culture, we have to strike the commonality there. So for me, the Q5 product, I would definitely want, of course, yes, this platform is for, helping us with funds. So this is a startup, no doubt. Creative studio with Q5 as a product, catering to your rather visualizing to involve a digital magazine, alongside academics, right from the formative years, right from first standard till at least 8th standard, and then possibly give leadership lessons to 9th and 10th. Because when you come out of school, the child has to develop as an independent individual, rather than parents all the time thinking for the child has no clue what is he supposed to do. So if we
thank
say
you so much, Ms. Shobha, thank you so very much for this beautiful pitch. It was wonderful listening to you, and yes, I totally connect with what you're saying. Thank you so very much for being here this afternoon.
Thank you, Shobha.
And now we would like to call upon brand school hiring. We have Mr. Kamal here with us.
Hi, ma'am. Hi, Ritu, ma'am.
Yeah, hi, Kamal.
So I'm the founder of the schoolshiring.com, ma'am. Kamal Sharma is my name. And basically, I want to tell you, let me share the screen. What is schools hiring exactly? So, ma'am, schools hiring, it's a big innovative solution for schools hiring. We are solving the problem in this market for hiring issues in education industry. So similarly, it's a job portal for education industry only, like Naukri.com, Sign.com, WorkIndia.com, we know everyone. But these portals are for everyone, like every sector's jobs are available on these portals. So there is a no exclusive job portal for schools industry. So I actually faced the problem in this education sector while I was working in with sports organization. So there is I got the problem in hiring. So there is no exclusive portal. So that's why we created this innovative solution for schools hiring. So currently we are active in Delhi NCR only. So here is we allow only those jobs, those schools are looking for any administrative staff or any teachers. Again, here you can see the accountant, accounts teacher, and music teacher. There is a all administrative staff or educators. So I want to make this brand if someone job seekers is looking job in school industry, so there should be exclusive portal with schoolshiring.com. If any school is looking for staff, so they don't need to go to naukri.com or sign.com or any other platform. Already their packages are touching the sky. They are charging very high amounts. So that's why we created this exclusive platform for school industry only. So what is our vision? Our vision is to take it the next level. We can add lot of things in school industry, we can add some tutor as well. So some people are facing the issues. If someone parents is looking for a best home tutor, then there is no any platform to find out the any specific tutor, home tutor. So we can add all these things. So we want to expand it in on pan India level. That's why I'm looking for the raising the fund for to take it on next level. So here is our blogs options as well. See what is going on in education industry. We research on this. We reach to schools, and also we are getting good response from schools as well. Because of COVID, this is impacting our all hiring issues as well. So this is our entire business model to solving. We are solving the hiring issues in education industry only. So this is exclusive platform for schools industry. So do you have any questions, ma'am, Ritu ma'am?
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned that particularly how can parents actually access it? What has been your first response in Delhi NCR? Any experiences that you can share over there for parents or for teachers?
Ma'am, experience here we connect some schools here you can see the jobs we got from Gyananda schools, and got some schools here Kidji schools. They are hiring staff from there, and here is the some others here you can see the some schools are getting response from our portal, but because of pandemic this right now they are not hiring the lot of staff. So that's why, but I have a very great conviction it will work, because it's a very big initiative ideas that nobody is working on this on an exclusive level.
Yes,
exclusive level. The exclusive is our USB. So if we are approaching the all schools, then every educators will know if you are looking job in school industry, then they will automatically go to schoolshiring.com, because they know there is your relevant things are there. So that's why we are expanding it gradually. We are getting the response also, but after schools will reopen, then we hope we will get the very good response as well. So here is some schools
so is it only for teachers, or is it also, how do you, I mean, what is your admission kind of, if we can have a look at that also quickly for parents who might be looking for admissions?
No, ma'am. Still, it's not for admissions and all that.
Okay.
It's similar like Naukri.com. If you are looking for job in any level, like principal, administration, coordinator, in any school in NCR, then you can directly register yourself. You can make your profile, and when school will, if any school has any vacancy for principal, directors, then they can put their ad post on our portals. So easily you can connect with each other.
Free for schools.
Right, only for schools only. This platform is exclusive for school industry only. So if you are looking for school jobs, then schools hiring is the best platform for you.
Okay, sure. This
gradually we can add many. I have a lot of ideas from this single portals. Right now we are doing this free packages on our portals. We are not charging any amount from any employer from school industry, but gradually we can increase, accordingly we can make it. And we can add a lot of we can create a school mart as well. So those companies, we can associate with those companies who are associated with school industry, those who are giving their services in school industry. So we can make it like India Mart. We can also make it school mart as well. So there is a lot of thing. If we have the lot of schools, if we recover the Pan India schools, then a lot of have any revenue models as well from this portal, single portal.
So do you have a kind of a algorithm connecting the people who are looking for jobs to people who are looking for employees, new employees? Is it like algorithm connection, or would this be done manually?
Right now, ma'am, we are doing manually with the social media only, and we have the small team. It's 8 to 10 people's team we have. So we are doing the calling as well, email marketings we are doing. So from Facebook, Instagrams, we are getting a good response from the educators also. But from other cities also, they are approaching us, because this is a very big problem. So, but we can't expand in this much faster at this situation.
Sure.
But getting response very good.
It will be, I think, it will, particularly once schools reopen, I think this is something that would be a much needed solution.
Right.
I think you should stop here. You should even talk to all these online education companies like a Baiju or Vedantu, and if they need teachers, they can also hire from you.
Right, ma'am. Exactly. Because we can add the further, we can add schools, colleges as well, universities as well, so coachings as well. So this can be exclusive things from Pan India. Ki educators, if you looking for anywhere job in school industry, education industry, then schools hiring is the best platform for you.
Sure.
This is our vision.
No, I think it's a good platform.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have one of the award winners here, and we would love to definitely hear from sir. K-12 School Chain of the Year National, which goes to Jaipuria, and we have with us Mr. Anirban over here. Good afternoon, sir. Are you there? Mr. Bhattacharya, are you here with us?
We can't hear your voice, Mr. Anirban.
Shall we give him a minute or two? Okay, so there is a lot of radio silence here, and as much as we love it online, I think he has left the conversation. All right. Ms. Maria, it has been a great morning, a great afternoon, so many conversations and so many insights, and of course the startup pitches. May I please request you to give the vote of thanks?
So I would like to thank everybody who's joined us here today for this conference. Dr. Aseem Chauhan, who's also here with me. Thank you very much, sir. We know there have been delays today, and we are very, very sorry for it, for some technical glitches that we could not control. We're all learning technology the way it is. So, but it's been a wonderful day. I think so many great learnings. But what has been really, really very important takeaway from me for this conference was the hunger today for doing the digital transformation on part of the core educationists and how they want to service their students, despite the fact that it is so difficult. They're not able to control the environments through which they have been teaching. But the hunger to now go out and build something and help the students in the right way in 2021-22 is my biggest takeaway. And, regardless of what happens, whether the pandemic puts us still inside or lets us go outside, but we'll try to be, as a media, be helping everybody in the education industry, all the ecosystem, by connecting them together and bringing the best learnings. I hope you all enjoyed the conference, and obviously we look forward to having you more from here. Dr. Chauhan, if you would also like to say a few words.
Sure. Thank you, Rituji, and I'll just add, what a wonderful job you all have done to bring such a diverse group of people from across the ecosystem, may they be technology players or university and school operators, service providers. I think absolutely an incredible job by you and the team to bring investors, everyone together for a dialogue as we look at a time that is a 100-year opportunity in this sector, in startups, in EdTech and entrepreneurship. The changes that have come in terms of consumer behavior, how we are consuming education, how our students and faculty have picked up skills. I think this is incredible. You have been able to highlight many of these themes today. I think the viewers would have greatly benefited and learned a lot. I have been observing many of the panels, and I will share this with many of our students across all amateur universities globally, because there is so much to learn. So my congratulations to you, and as always, the team that you have at Franchise India, at Entrepreneur Magazine, that does this year upon year. So wonderful job. Muskan, you did a very good job. When there's a technology platform, there can be challenges, but you very gracefully were able to face all of it. So to you and the whole team, my congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We really feel appreciated for all the efforts that go to put a forum like this. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ma'am, you're saying something?
No. If you can just go forward, Muskan.
I think Mr. Anirban Bhattacharya has rejoined us. Sir, are you here with us this afternoon?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Yeah. So, there was some technical glitch happened at my end. So sorry and for the inconvenience. So I'm so thankful to the jury and the Franchise India for choosing Seth Anandram Jaipuria Group of Institutions for this prestigious award, K-12 School Chain of the Year, a national one. And just wanted to apprise everyone who are present over here. We are into the education domain for more than 75 years and running 24 institutions. Our journey started from Kolkata with the college started in 1945. And over these years, we have trained more than 20,000 plus students, 15,000 plus alumni, and almost like 800 plus educators on board with us. So I'd like to thank all my stakeholders, principals, parents, students, staffs, and my partners for making us proud. And thank you so much, Ritu, for making this effort organize this Indian Education Award and these conferences, and also giving a chance for new people who are into this starting phase, looking for venture capital and seed funds. This is amazing. I think you guys are doing an excellent job. And thank you so much for giving this opportunity for everyone in this education industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much.